Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. So for today I wanted to go over our January budget. If you're not familiar with me from Instagram, my husband and I started with about $130,000 in debt, and right now we have about $67,000, so we're about halfway. And I wanted to share how I budget every month, just to show you how much we've cut down our expenses and what that looks like in our monthly budget. So today we're going to be talking about our January 2021 budget. So the first thing I do is I evaluate our income. So this month we have 4 checks, and I just write down the dates first, and then I will write pay 1, pay 2, pay 3, and pay 4. So my husband and I both work full-time, and we both have a job that pays us 2 times a month. So that looks like this. And I do round off these numbers a little bit just because I like to have a little bit of a buffer in our checking account. So I never really true it up in the income section. I just kind of leave it. They're typically like a few dollars over these amounts. So that leaves us with $5,800 to budget for the entire month. Then we go down to our fixed expenses. So this would be like a mortgage or rent. We also have cell phones and Netflix. And if you're at all discouraged by watching some of these videos with people having less expenses, just know that this is something that has taken us a really long time to kind of narrow down. When we started, we had a lot more expenses and less income. And over the past few months, really probably about 14 months that we've been diligently budgeting, I have drastically cut down the amount of expenses that we've had, and that has been a huge help to our debt payoff. So the first we have is our mortgage. I actually pay this a month ahead, so the income from January will pay our first of the month for February budget. Then we have our cell phones, which this is an area that in 2021 I would like to look at possibly getting lower, because I know that we could probably lower this a little bit. This has just always worked for us, and it's never been something that I've looked into. We have Netflix. This comes out on the 20th as well. Right now that is $14. Peloton, which is our membership that we use instead of a gym, that comes out on the 2nd. That's $41. And our last fixed expense that we have right now is our internet. Again, another area that I feel like we could probably get lower. We just have not looked into that yet. So that is something that I'm kind of putting on my list of things that I would like to look into in 2021 to further narrow our budget a little bit. And then total remaining, that is $4,245 that we have left to budget. So then what I do is I take this up and we kind of talk about like variable expenses. So this is, if you're doing cash envelopes, we don't do cash, we do checking accounts. So we have our electric bill. That comes out on the 28th, and that is usually around $225 in the winter. It kind of depends usually on the season. We live in the Midwest, and so we have heavy winters and very hot summers. So our electric bill is typically pretty high, except for in the fall, which is fine. We kind of just, I always put $225, and then typically it's a little bit lower. Personal spending, we usually do about $100 a month right now while we're paying off debt. And then we have the usual gas, groceries. This is groceries and household. So like paper towel, toilet paper, all those things. So gas, we usually do 100. That has been more than enough lately with COVID. We haven't not been going as many places as normal, so that has been plenty. Groceries and household, we usually do $500, which is usually perfect for us. And misc and dining out, we usually do $200 each, which I know is probably a little bit high for some people. We are a family of 4. We have 2 children. And so misc ends up being a lot of kids stuff or clothing. Those are things that I don't usually split out into sinking funds. So our total for variable expenses is $13.25. Also, I'm sorry about my handwriting. I feel like I haven't been writing anything lately, and so my handwriting is like super sloppy. I have been mostly working on my computer, so I feel like my hands have not been used in a long time for writing. So sinking funds, we have our car, our home. I try to keep these pretty broad. I know some people like to drill down. Car insurance. And then I just do this broad category of like birthday and Christmas. This kind of, I should probably just rename this like kids or something. This just kind of has all of our money for Christmas and birthdays, and even sometimes back to school. Sometimes I'll cash flow back to school or pull some of the money out of here. So putting 100 in car, 50 in home. We do own a home, so I usually put a little bit more in there, but this month we have a decent amount in there, so did not think we needed to do that. And then I'm gonna put 100 in here. Since this is a pretty broad category, I do tend to fund that a little bit higher. And we do have one savings account for all of these. We do not split them out. I know some people like to split it out into different check or savings accounts. We don't do that. We just have one savings account, which has our emergency fund and all of our sinking funds in one. And then coming down here to debt and savings, we are not saving anything right now except for our sinking funds because we are still paying off debt. That's just what works for us. We have a decent emergency fund. I think we have about $6,000 in there right now. We do not follow the $1,000 guideline that Dave Ramsey has set. For us, that just doesn't work. For some people, it works great. We own a home, we own cars, we have 2 kids, and that just has never felt like enough. And I know it's not supposed to, but it makes me personally feel very uncomfortable to have that little in savings. So we just kind of do what works for us. And I would recommend that you do what works for you. If you feel comfortable with the 1,000, I think that's great. Just find something that's comfortable for you. And that goes for everything in budgets, to just do what works for you. And my budget is an example, and a lot of things that I do might not make sense for your family. So just do what feels right to you at the time. So the only debt we have right now is my student loans, which are a whopping over $60,000 right now. And again, we did start at $130,000. So we have made a lot of progress, especially this year. This year we've probably paid, I think, about $40,000 on my student loans. So I'm incredibly proud of us for really buckling down on our student loans this year. So student loans. So I'm taking all of this remaining, and that will go straight to debt. And that is a zero-based budget. So thank you so much for watching. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them on my Instagram. That's the best place to get a hold of me. I'm on there every day, and I post a lot more content on there. So please feel free to reach out. And if you like this tracker, I do sell this tracker in my Etsy shop for a very inexpensive price. When I was starting to budget, I did not find a budget worksheet that I liked. I wanted something that was super simple and just had the bare minimum of what I would need. So I made this. I do have a couple other trackers in there as well if you want to check them out. And those links are all down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye, guys.